What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Sarah. I'm a certified weight loss and nutrition coach. Today, we are talking about something incredibly important to understanding weight loss and how to make weight loss easy and smooth, and honestly, how to make a world of difference in your well-being. But first, before we begin with this, I want to start with a story that represents a common way that I see weight loss play out for especially women. And I'm going to use myself as an example. This is a story from a while ago. I was in a job that I really, I actually enjoyed it, but I had no boundaries at the time. And so because of that, I basically walked myself into a situation where I took a job that I loved and turned it into a job that I hated. So I was incredibly stressed out, was not getting enough sleep, was not getting any time for recovery. And so there was like nothing felt good in my life at that point. I was either at work or I was sitting on the couch just vegging because I was so exhausted. And so what I ended up doing is, rather than looking at my life and saying, I should consider a different career, instead, I looked at my life and thought, I think I'm unhappy because I weigh more than I want to weigh. And so, all I need to do is lose some weight, and all I need to do that is eat less. I just need to eat less. And so I would go on these really hardcore, I'm going to eat less, sort of pseudo diets, I guess you could say. And I would basically undereat is what I would do. And I would go to work and just white knuckle my way through work, just completely white knuckle my way through work. And then I would get to the end of the week, and this might only last a few days. It might last a whole week, but at some point there would be a binge at the end of that because I was shot. My nervous system, my whole body was just done. And essentially, by then starving myself or by undereating, I would just pile on. So that is what we are going to unpack today. And I've got the slideshow presentation to sort of help explain it all. So let's talk about what the nervous system, we all know what the nervous system is generally, but to make it really simple for our terms, the nervous system is your body's command central. So it is in charge of your heart rate, digestion, and most importantly, it plays a crucial role in how we manage stress and emotions, and as a result, how we relate to food. That's sort of a subset of how we relate to stress and emotions. Now, when our nervous system is out of balance, it creates a host of issues. It can cause chronic stress, anxiety, it even causes difficulty. It can cause difficulty in losing weight. And I've kind of alluded to that in my story that I began this video with. Oh, I don't think I mentioned at the end of the story, I think it's sort of assumed I didn't lose weight. by under eating when I was already in a stressed state, no weight was lost during that time. But back to this. So back to what an imbalanced nervous system does to our body. So it puts us in this constant state of fight or flight, and then that makes it almost impossible to be able to focus on what we need to do to heal, self-care, or making the right choices about our health. If all you're doing is trying to survive the week, you are not able to focus on those things. The good news is you can repair and rebalance your nervous system. And this process is all about creating a sense of calm and safety in your body and also in your mind, so that you can do what you need to do, so that you can finally reset and function at your best. All right, so let's talk about practical tips for this nervous system repair. Breathing exercises is the first one. Now, I'm just gonna say before you start rolling your eyes like, okay, take a deep breath. I actually had a student who used to tell me, I get so angry when people tell me to take a deep breath. And so I always do, don't tell her to take a deep breath. But let me explain a little bit what taking a deep breath means. Not taking a deep breath means, what the actual helpful instruction is. So we don't necessarily want to take deep breaths like because that's what we're already doing, right? So when you take a deep breath, that just kind of doesn't help. It piles on. What you want to do instead is focus on long, slow exhales if you can. This actually will help calm the fight or flight response. Now let's be perfectly clear. It's probably not going to happen with one long breath. Like if you just get triggered and you go, that might help a little bit. But as the mother of a toddler, I could tell you, when I am severely triggered, 1 breath doesn't do it, 2 breaths doesn't do it, 3 or 4 breaths doesn't do it. It just takes this constant and listen to how I'm breathing. So I'm not focusing on the in-breath. So we're not going, because that does, did you even see the muscles in my neck pop out? That is a sign that I'm going into a stress response. But as long and slow as you can manage it, that's gonna help. When I am triggered, and I'm using my toddler as an example just because I don't think anything triggers me more where I really have to keep it together than with my kid, because I'm not gonna lose it on my kid. Sometimes it might be like 5 minutes of me just, as I'm listening to him, as he's melting down or doing whatever crazy little people do to trigger us. And keep in mind, it's not that I do these long, slow breaths and all of a sudden I feel like I'm sitting on a beach with a sangria. No, that's just not how the body works. What happens is I'm long, slow breathing, and all of a sudden I can feel the emotions start to get a little bit quieter and rational thought starts to take over. That's what you're going for. So you can do this in a business meeting, you can do it when you're driving, you can do it whenever. And you don't have to be super triggered. You can just be thinking, you know what, I'm having a crappy day. I'm just gonna start doing long, slow breaths. And it's subtle, but the body will begin to respond. On the slide, I have box breathing. That's also a completely valid thing to do. It's basically you take four counts of an in-breath, 4 counts where you hold it in, 4 counts where you breathe it out, and then 4 counts where you hold it out. That's great if you're in a rational state and you're like, I'm gonna do this breathing meditation. But trust me, if you are just like, I'm having a bad day, long, slow exhales will make a world of difference. Try it. If you're sitting here just rolling your eyes, test me on it and see if it doesn't help, even just a little bit. All right, the next one is mindful movement. So gentle mindful movement like yoga and walking can help reduce stress for sure. They also help you connect to your body. Now that said, I have this caveat on the screen. Some people can get triggered by silence. And some people, you might be this person, you might have met this person, but that person that just can't sit still, trying to force them to sit still is probably not going to ease their nervous system. It's probably not going to help at all. So I would say a caveat to this is any kind of movement that helps you feel at home in your body is what you want to do. So for example, my husband, he's more of that kind of, he's not like frantic energy, but he's just that person that can't sit still. The most centered I have ever seen him is when he gets finishing training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which if you've ever seen it, it's basically wrestling. It's wrestling and you're just constantly trying to get people in these different arm locks and things like that. And so it's an intense workout. And it's not one where you're oming during the workout. You're basically, it's in a controlled environment, but you feel like you're kind of fighting for your life in there, you know? But he gets finished with that, and his voice goes down an octave because he's just relaxed and he's centered and he's in his body. So my advice, my recommendation is find any kind of movement that allows you to feel that way when you get finished. It could be running, it could be kickboxing, it could be BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it could be Zumba class, it could be anything, just anything that allows you to feel your body, experience your body, and feel at home in your body. All right, the next piece, and again, you might get a little bit like, yeah, I've heard this a million times, but stay with me. Sleep hygiene. You guys, sleep is just so important. Like I cannot emphasize to you enough how important sleep is. If you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow was a psychologist. He's a psychologist, I think. Anyways, he came up with this concept of our hierarchy of needs as human beings, where it's like level 1, like if you don't have access to clean water, to rest, and to food, you are not going to be able to engage with the world on a philanthropic level. You know what I mean? It's like you have to have these basic needs met before you can start worrying about other things. Our body has those hierarchy of needs. So it's like, if you are not getting enough sleep, trying to go on an intense diet to lose weight, you're not going to get out of your body what you're hoping to get out of your body. So sleep hygiene is something that sometimes it seems so simple that we want to just move past it. But the idea is you want your bedroom, like wherever you sleep, you want that to be a space that your body knows, okay, I'm in this space, I'm going to sleep. So it doesn't have to be ornate or over the top. It can simply mean, okay, I'm not gonna take my computer into my bedroom. I'm not gonna do work in my bed. Sorry, my toddler is sleeping, and so I keep looking over at the baby monitor. It's just this concept of when you walk in the bedroom, your brain needs to know it can shut off, right? And so routine and ritual is really the key to this. If you are that person that you get in bed and you immediately want to scroll on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you guys, I just cannot emphasize to you enough how, like, stay out in the living room to do that if you're going to do that. Because your body, when you're scrolling, your body is literally, your brain is engaging with that the same way a predator engages like in the wild. So if you imagine like a lion zooming in, beep, 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 that's what our eyes and our brain is doing when we're scrolling. So the best thing to do would be to set a time where you're just like, okay, after this time, screens are away, go take a walk, go take a shower. Make it something that you enjoy though. If meditating is your thing, meditate before bed. But if you hate meditating, don't try to meditate before bed. That'll just make you angry. Read a book. This is actually one of my favorite things to recommend to people is like, get some like cheap romance that is easy to read, that's not, read that. If you're tired, you'll fall asleep immediately. If you're not, you've got something fun and enjoyable to read, something light. Okay, last but certainly not least, I would say that this slide is actually the most important slide, self-compassion practices. Okay, now stay with me, because there was a time, more than anybody in the world, if you started talking to me about self-compassion and how important it is to your weight loss journey, I would have rolled my eyes at you, or I'm a nice person. I would have waited till you looked away. I would have rolled my eyes, and internally I would have said, okay, crazy pants. Like, go so crazy somewhere else. Self-compassion, that sounds like something that weak people do. I'm strong, so I'm just gonna white knuckle this, and I'm gonna make it happen. Hello, trauma. If you don't know anything about self-compassion or trauma, or how trauma can affect how we talk to ourselves, then that joke might not have made sense. But self-compassion is the single most important factor for change. And here is the reason why. Healing takes time, and it's important that we give ourselves the space to heal. And one of my all-time favorite parenting coaches, Dr. Becky Kennedy, she has this wonderful quote that she says about compassion generally, but also about self-compassion. So let's say we're looking at compassion in regards to like our children. Sort of an old school way of parenting would be like, oh, you gotta give them tough love. She has this wonderful quote where she says, compassion doesn't let people off the hook. It actually keeps them on the hook for change. And the reason that is, like, imagine you mess up and the first words that your loved one says, like, how could you do that? Like, what's wrong with you? And they just hit you with the shame. Self-compassion is, well, before I say that, that's what most of us do internally. We mess up and then immediately it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? And it might not even be an internal monologue. It just might be this feeling of constriction and like, oh, I messed up. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? That is the thing that makes you want to run and hide and say, you know what, I'm a failure. I'm just going to stop, and who knows, I'll come back to this weight loss stuff later when I feel better. That's it. But if you have a self-compassionate voice talking inside of you that's saying like, hey, everybody messes up. Like literally everybody messes up. Literally the way we learned to walk was by messing up. Like we actually have to mess up in order to learn. If that's the voice speaking to you, then you're not going to quit. You're going to say, oh, you know what? This didn't work for me. You're going to take that long, slow breath and you're going to say, okay, let's see how we can make this work. That's how you can actually look at your behavior and see and separate it from you as an individual, because you are not your behavior. You are a perfectly whole individual. And then you can look at that behavior and figure out how to change it and tweak it. In my coaching practice, this is what I do for people. This is like the number one thing I do for people, is just speak to them in a compassionate way and help them understand that, hey, just because you mess up, that's okay. Everybody messes up, but let's see how we can fix it and do better next time. That is the power of self-compassion. I could keep talking about it, but I can't talk forever. Also, I would like to point you in the direction of a person who is literally, this is what she does, this is her job. Kristin Neff. She did a wonderful TED Talk. I'm gonna link it in the description of this video. Watch that video, especially if you are sort of cynical or skeptical about self-compassion and you're like, okay, that's for those woo-woo people. Watch this TED Talk. At the very end, she gives scientific data of how important it is for people who want to change, who want to do better, who want to be better versions of themselves, how self-compassion is vital to that. The one caveat I will say, she begins by talking about self-esteem, and she talks about the dark side of self-esteem. Self-esteem is something that I talk about a lot on my channel as well. Most of my learning about it comes from the father of self-esteem, Nathaniel Branden. And so when she talks about the dark side of self-esteem in that video, she relates it to narcissism. But I believe Dr. Nathaniel Branden would say that like narcissism and the dark side of self-esteem is actually pseudo self-esteem. So real self-esteem is when you know you're okay no matter what you're doing. And again, that's tied to self-compassion. So super, super important. Watch that video. Trust me on this one. Okay, so we've gone over a lot of stuff in this video. Just keep in mind that repairing your nervous system is a powerful step towards lasting weight loss and overall wellness. It's about creating a foundation. So think of your body as, actually, Rhonda Hooks, I think that's the name of, she's another parenting coach I listen to. She talks about parenting through the lens of the nervous system, and she talks about a child's nervous system. She talks about it as being their platform. And that's it. Like our nervous system, our physical body is our platform. And if we're not supporting that platform, then we're standing on shaky ground and we're not gonna be able to do anything. You know what I mean? Like weight loss will feel impossible if you have a shaky platform. Everything will feel like the ultimate version of, if I can make a balanced nervous system feel visceral to you, it's this. You know that feeling, that vacation feeling you get when you're like done with work for however long and you get to take a break and you get to go do something fun and you have nothing, absolutely nothing is weighing on you? That's a balanced nervous system. But up until now, you've probably assumed that only happens because you're on vacation. But what I'm offering you is tools to be able to achieve that and still function in your day-to-day life. That's pretty big stuff. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching, especially if you got this far. Thank you for sticking with me. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with somebody else who might find it helpful, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there are topics you'd like me to cover next. And aside from that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.